and welcome to my channel. Hi, I'm Sam and I'm a pencil artist, and my aim is to help other pencil artists to grow in skills and confidence and to feel the benefits that regular creative practice has on health and well-being. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about 5 healthy art habits that I think have been a bit of a game changer for me, and I know we're all guilty of all of them at one time or another, but I just wanted to give you some little tips on how to make things a little bit easier and to not fall into those little traps that tend to create a bit of a downward spiral when it comes to our emotions and our mindset. And whether you're doing your art as a hobby or whether you're doing your art as a business and trying to grow that, it's really important to remember the big reason why we did it in the first place, and to not let self-doubt get in the way of us enjoying what we're doing, because art is just such a great joyous thing to do, and we kind of have to remember why we started it to begin with and try and keep those feelings going for as long as possible. So my first top tip would be to be kind to yourself, and I know that sounds a little bit obvious and a little bit strange, but isn't it amazing the way that we speak to ourselves sometimes? And I don't even necessarily mean out loud. Sometimes it can just be this internal dialogue that goes on in our head. We tend to catastrophize, saying, oh, you always get things wrong, when actually you got 20 things right, but just you focus on that one little thing that went a little bit wrong. You're so dumb, you can't learn anything, you're so silly. Those words are much more powerful than you could ever imagine. I remember listening to the amazing Mel Robbins, and she's everywhere on the internet, so go and check her out if you want to. But she told this story about water which just blew my mind. And it was talking about scientists, and they had 2 petri dishes full of water, and one petri dish they spoke nothing but kind, loving and encouraging words to. And the other petri dish they shouted at and shouted abuse and, like I said, catastrophized and said all of these awful things to it. And then they froze both these petri dishes. And it was just amazing that when they looked under a microscope, when they pulled them out of the freezer, the one that the words had been really kind and encouraging had beautiful snow crystals, symmetrical, you see the snowflakes, they are absolutely beautiful and intricate and a wonder to behold. And in the one that was very, very negative, the ice crystals had formed in a really jagged, haphazard, no symmetry, nothing, all of it just quite spiky, and just really illustrated the way that these words have such an impact on us. So one way to think about it is to think about how you would talk to a friend, your best friend or your family. How would you talk to them? If somebody came to you with a problem and they said, oh, I've done this, you wouldn't say, oh, you're so stupid, you do that all of the time, I can't believe, you just wouldn't do that, would you? So why do we do it to ourselves? So think about what you're saying to yourself. Don't be unkind. Really think about how important those words are. The way that words can knock us down and make us feel flat. Try the opposite and try saying, oh, come on, you're doing really well. We are very good at cheerleading other people. We're not so good at cheerleading ourselves. And that leads me on to my second point, which is to celebrate the small wins. I think we are so focused on something going forward, something huge. Maybe we've got plans and dreams and whatever that may be. We're so focused on not being there yet that we forget to celebrate the little small wins along the way. And they say that life happens when you're making plans, and it's really true. I don't think you can ever feel content in the moment if you're not grateful and really notice and appreciate the small things that are happening right then and there, right now. So celebrate the small things. If you found that you blended something really well, or that you've got a really good thick layer of fur and it looks really realistic, or you've got the lights and the darks perfectly this time, or the values are fantastic, or you've mastered getting a tongue in the realistic tones that they are, then take a moment to sit back and really appreciate and acknowledge and congratulate yourself for these little small things, because these tiny things really do add up. I see that when I talk to my kids. You can see how things can go both ways. If Thea comes to me, she's 6 today actually, if Thea comes to me and says, look mummy, I've done a drawing, and I say, oh, that's wonderful darling, well done, that's brilliant, you can see her little face light up. If I changed that situation and said nothing, or don't you think you could have done a little bit better here, how different would that situation be? So it's so important to do that for ourselves as well. We do it so easily for others, but it's important to keep ourselves feeling okay as well. And I think that also leads on to the way that life is at the moment with social media, with likes and follows and subscribers and all of these things. We tend to look for validation outside of ourselves. If we don't get lots of likes on a certain post, it's almost like, well, it can't be good then, when actually it's got to do with a huge computer basically deciding who sees it. It's got nothing to do with how good that work is. So if we can give ourselves little small nuggets of congratulations, then we're not as reliant, I suppose, on other people's validation. It's always nice to hear encouraging words from others, and it's lovely to give those encouraging words out. But I think if we're our own best cheerleader, then we don't necessarily rely on them or feel that our mood can shift and change and go down if we're not getting the likes that we need. We can kind of just say, oh, well, that's one of those things, and kind of move on. That leads me on to my third point, which is not to compare yourself to other people. Again, this amazing computer system, whatever you look at and whatever you're interested in, it will show you more of it. So it just seems like there are so many other people that are probably further down the line and better than you in your current medium. It just feels like everyone is doing what you're doing. But the truth is, it's not true. If you look at your circle of friends and family, how many other people in that circle or your friends are doing what you do? Probably none. Maybe one. So that's more of a kind of an indication as to what it's like, what it's actually like. When we look at Instagram and our feed is full of other artists, that's kind of all we kind of get bombarded with the level of talent that is out there, and it's absolutely amazing. But it's very easy to fall into that trap of comparing yourself to other people and to feel downhearted and discouraged because you feel like you're never ever going to get there. We can all do it. We can all get that, the green-eyed monster rearing its ugly head, and it's not a nice feeling to have. And I think I don't really feel that there's any benefit at all. Some emotions I think are really beneficial, whether they could be quite uncomfortable, but I can't really see the benefit of envy or jealousy. I can't think of anything. If you can, let me know in the comments below. There's bound to be something that's good about it. But as a general rule, envy and jealousy just leads to feelings of inadequacy or just feeling really flat. So you hear this a lot, but it's so true. Don't compare yourself to the other artists. Find inspiration from Instagram or Facebook or YouTube or whatever it is. But if you start to find yourself feeling discouraged, step away from that. And as soon as the feelings start moving away from inspiration, then possibly, this is what I do, I'll go back through my photos, or I'll pull out some pieces of work from a few years ago, and then I'll compare how further forward I am now compared to where I was then. It is so important to just compare yourself to yourself, because that's all that matters, really. Your journey is going to be so different to other people's, and don't forget, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes with all of these people. They could have been doing it for years and years and years, but it just seems like they've suddenly emerged from nowhere and they're getting all of these sales and being really successful, feeling that that's the career or standard of drawing or painting that we really strive to get. But you don't know how many hours have gone into that. So don't compare your beginning to someone else's middle, or don't compare your middle to someone else that's 5 years further on. You don't know how long they have per day to draw, how much practice they're putting in, but you can guarantee that we all started in a very similar position. Most people have to work at it. It's a skill that you need to practice and develop, make mistakes. Not every piece is going to be a masterpiece, and we are all in the same boat there. So just compare yourself to yourself, see how far you've come from a month ago, a year ago, 5 years ago, and I bet you'll be pleasantly surprised at how far you've come. My next point is to take a break. If you're really feeling overwhelmed, it's okay to take some time out. It really is okay to step away from the drawing board or the easel and not push yourself through, because what tends to happen is then you push through, you feel like you're doing okay, you're kind of on autopilot. I tend to speed up when I feel overwhelmed, so everything becomes a little bit panicky. I get that kind of feeling of urgency inside of me, and then it doesn't take long for me to feel like I'm just going to burnout. You hear that a lot at the moment. So going at 100 miles an hour and then you kind of hit a wall and you have to stop, you get ill, or something happens and you have to stop, your body makes you stop. So instead of getting to that point where you feel like you don't have a choice, you've completely burnt out, you're exhausted, then it's definitely much better to step away, to come back to that thing that's frustrating you with fresh eyes, and I bet you'll be pleasantly surprised. Sometimes we're looking at something so closely that it just doesn't make sense anymore. Have you ever written a word so many times it suddenly starts to not look like a word anymore? Sometimes your brain just becomes absolutely boggled. So step away from your drawing, take a walk, have something to eat, definitely have a drink, don't drink enough water. Make sure you're looking after all of your basic human needs, and go out and get some fresh air and come back. And I imagine when you look at it with fresh eyes, it suddenly starts to make a little bit more sense again, and you'll be able to look at it a bit more objectively. So if things aren't going well and you really feel that with your skill set currently that you're not going to be able to rectify it, to make it any better, start again. That's okay. There's been quite a few drawings when I've definitely decided that I've got to the point of no return and I've had to start again. But I think when I was in that kind of overwhelmed mode, I wouldn't have been able to see that, and I would have pushed through. And then you have to have this time of recovery. And so you end up going on this kind of vicious circle of up and down, this roller coaster, when it would be much easier if you're just at a kind of a nice growth level where you don't feel like you're going to hit a wall every time, and then you don't need that period of recovery when you feel like you don't want to do anything. You don't want to go on social media, you don't want to show your face, you just don't want to do it. It's much better not to get to that point where you feel like you need to take complete time out and time off because you've absolutely had enough. It's kind of about managing yourself in the moment, noticing these little triggers that you tend to have that follow a bit of a pattern so that you can recognize them and stop them in their tracks before they go too far and you end up down that slippery slope. And that kind of leads me on to my fifth and final point, which is actually to slow down and enjoy the process. Like I said, I'm really guilty of just speeding up when I feel overwhelmed. I feel like there's too much to do, I can't do it, and then I get into this kind of panicky, manicky mode, and it's just, I end up rushing my drawings, I end up not being satisfied with what I've done, and I feel like I could do so much better than the work I've created. So what I found is that when I slow down, not only do I do a better job, I notice things more, I see the details, I see colours that I wouldn't have seen if I was kind of rushing through. I get to the points where, you've got a big area of fur, it's usually the kind of neck and shoulders, that you think, oh gosh, you've done all of that detail all of the time on the face, on the eyes, on the nose, and then it's just so easy to want to rush through that last bit. But if I really take my time, if I take breaks, if I slow down, not only is the drawing better in the long run, but actually I enjoy it so much more. I get into flow. Time can just go and I'm there in this kind of meditative state. It's so therapeutic. It's just so much more enjoyable, and I know that my heart rate comes down, my breathing slows down, my blood pressure reduces. It's got a physical benefit as well as feeling really much more pleased with the final result. So I would definitely recommend slowing down, taking a breath, knowing that you're speeding up and nipping it in the bud before it starts. Slowing down, take a breather, and just enjoy the process. Enjoy that repetitive first stroke, which actually when you get into flow is just absolutely fun. Can't think of any other word. That's when I get into that kind of calm meditative mindset, and it's so similar to meditation that actually it counts as your meditation for that day. I think you get into that flow, you lose time, everything calms down and slows down. So I definitely recommend trying that. Slow down and give yourself permission not to panic. I think I say to myself now, slow down, is going to be okay. And that tends to kickstart those feelings of being able to do that. So those are my 5 top tips for healthy art habits. I hope these are helpful, even if you take one away. Let me know if there's anything that you do that you could add to this list. I'd be really interested to hear. And if you like this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos and to press that bell icon so that you're notified. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.